The weirdest season in Premier League history finished just a few weeks ago, and yet the 2021 season is already underway. In the midst of transfer window madness that normally occurs, it's time to take a look back at how some of the key players for each Premier League team have fared over the past season. Today, we'll be highlighting each Premier League club's first choice goalkeeper, how they fared, whether they should go into the transfer market, and in some cases, where they are now. AFC Bournemouth, Aaron Ramsdale. Bournemouth's meteoric rise through the leagues has finally come to an end, and their man between the sticks was none other than Aaron Ramsdale. So Ramsdale made 37 appearances for the Cherries last season, and did not fare as well as hoped. Ramsdale kept a clean sheet percentage of 13.5%, the lowest out of all of the first choice goalkeepers. Over the course of the campaign, Ramsdale let in an average 1.7 goals per game, placing him 17th, and ranked 40th for save percentage, saving only 67.8% of the 177 shots he faced. However, he was not helped by a questionable defence, which did let through 5.2 shots on target for him to save per match on average, which is the third highest of all keepers. They also gave away 6 penalties, which Ramsdale managed to save 1 of, giving him a save percentage of 16.7%. Despite those numbers, Sheffield United snapped up Ramsdale when Bournemouth went down, buying the former Cherry for £18.7 million. This money will be excellent for Bournemouth in the Championship, and I doubt they'll miss Ramsdale that much after what he brought them in the 1920 season. Arsenal, Bernd Leno. From the bad to the good, Arsenal had a lot good fortune when it came to goalkeepers. Their number one was their replacement for veteran Petr Cech, none other than Bernd Leno. Leno made 30 appearances before a post-lockdown injury ended his season prematurely. So in this time, Leno made his mark on the Premier League, boasting the second highest save percentage with 77.6%. Despite being 10th for goals conceded per 90 with 1.3 and 16th for clean sheets with 23.3%, these stats would more point to Arsenal's less than brilliant defenders, mainly as Leno faced the 5th most shots per game out of any of the keepers with 5.07. He also had to face 7 penalties, mostly thanks to everyone's favourite David Luiz, which he did manage to save 1 of, which gave him the 12th best penalty save percentage. It is also worth noting that in his absence, Emiliano Martinez stepped up as the second choice keeper and managed a save percentage of 81%, which is higher than any of the first choice keepers this season. So with those two, Arsenal won't be needing a keeper anytime soon. Aston Villa, Tom Heaton. So Aston Villa and goalkeepers were not a happy couple this season. Tom Heaton seemed like a steal from Burnley, played 20 games for the Villains until injury struck. So playing less than any of the other first-choice keepers this season, his stats don't have the depth that the others do, but at least Aston Villa fans can be pleased it's not Pepe Reina that's representing their defensive efforts in this list. So, as may be expected, Aston Villa conceded a lot of shots. Tom Heaton faced the 4th most shots per game with 5.15, but only managed a save percentage of 67.7%, which does place him 15th. He also faced 3 penalties, one of which was actually given away by him, and then saved none of them, which places him at joint 14th. But the only reason he is 14th is all the other keepers also failed to save a single penalty up till 20th place. As for clean sheets, though, he did manage 5, which granted him a percentage of 20%, which puts him joint 17th. Conceding the second most goals per game of all the keepers with 1.75, this really rounds off what was a dreadful season for the ex-Burnley stopper. With Pepe Reina faring worst in almost all the categories, a 64% save ratio for example, Villa are going to have to do something drastic if they want to avoid relegation once again. Brighton and Hove Albion, Matty Ryan. Despite some bad patches, Brighton have had a happy life in the Premier League since their promotion, and Ryan has always been a mainstay between the 6, featuring in 38 out of their 38 games for them last season. His save percentage wasn't anything particularly to write home about, his 68.3% placing him in 13th, but he wasn't helped by the 4.5 shots on target he faced per game, which was the 8th highest amongst all of our goalkeepers. That did also affect his clean sheet percentage, which ended up as 23.7% at joint 13th. He also had to face 2 penalties last season as well, which he did save neither of. However, there are some positives to the Australian. He ranked joint 7th for goals conceded per 90 with 1.42 and did make 0 major errors leading to goals. So while Ryan isn't a world-class keeper, he is generally solid, and at 28 years old, Brighton wouldn't have to go out into the transfer market anytime soon. Burnley, Nick Pope. So Burnley achieved a nice 10th place finish last season, and certainly a big part of that was down to their newest number 1, Nick Pope. Stepping into the boots of Heaton was never going to be easy, but Pope has kept Turf Moor's defensive record enviable, while playing every game for them this season. So Pope kept 15 clean sheets this season, missing out on the Golden Glove by just 1. Unfortunately, he also misses out on our top spot for clean sheet percentage, managing to gain 3rd with a score of 39.5%, but a massive achievement all the same. Somewhat surprisingly, he ranks 9th for his save percentage with 71.1%, which was lower than expected considering the praise he has received and the clean sheets under his belt. He was also 10th for goals conceded per 90, which is again, it's not bad, but maybe suggests that the praise Nick Pope has received is based more on individual performance and wonder saves rather than his actual consistent saving ability. It is worth noting, however, that he achieved those numbers while facing 4.5 shots on target per game, which is the 9th highest of the keepers, and it is a lot less than his Golden Glove competitors of Edison, Schmeichel or Patricio. So overall, Pope has had an excellent season, however, his save percentage and goals conceded per 90 are still average. At his age and experience, this is still an incredible achievement, and hopefully he will only grow from there. Chelsea, Kepa Arrizabalaga. So again, a big swing in quality. Kepa has had an absolute howler of a season. So despite Chelsea going out and buying players in almost every other position, Kepa has been woeful and played 33 games for the Blues before being dropped for Willy Caballero. So the biggest negative of Kepa's games is the save percentage, boasting the worst of all of the first choice keepers with 54.5%. It's not even that he's the worst, it's that he is almost 10% worse than the keeper ranked in 19th position. This is particularly awful, especially as he only faces an average 3.1 shots on target per game, which is the 3rd lowest of all the keepers, only behind Alisson and Edison. He saved none of the 2 penalties he's faced, he's 12th for clean sheets with 24.2% and lets in 1.42 goals a game, putting him 14th. Overall, Kepa is an absolute disaster for his price and belongs in the bin. But big up Willy Caballero, even though his save percentage is 56.3%, which is also awful. Crystal Palace, Vicente Guaita. An unsung hero for Palace at times during the season, Guaita has been praised in the capital for his performances between the sticks. So playing 35 times for the Eagles, Palace fans will hope he repeats his efforts once more. With a save percentage of 71.4%, Guaita sneaks ahead of Pope to rank 8th amongst keepers, a considerable achievement for the Spaniard. He also ranks number 1 for penalty saves, having saved the only attempt he faced last season. His clean sheet percentage is also not bad, ranking joint 9th for a score of 28.6%. He also ranks 8th for goals conceded per 90, only letting in 1.2 goals per outing. It's not like he wasn't facing shots either, with the Palace defence letting 4.3 shots on target per game, which is the 10th highest in the league. Considering he was just a free transfer, seems like Guaita's performances have already gone under the radar. Palace have really found a keeper worth keeping, though his age of 33 could be a slight worry in years to come. Everton, Jordan Pickford. So the England captain really has seen his form and reputation drop off a cliff in recent months. See, going from the penalty shootout victory against Colombia to bumbling shots into his own net, Pickford is not the man he used to be, despite playing every game for the Toffees last season. The most important figure is his save percentage, finishing in 19th with 63.4%, only better than the dreadful Kepa. So ranked joint 13th for his clean sheet percentage of 23.7% and 15th for his goals conceded per 90 with 1.74, and you can see it's been a rough year for England's number one. I mean, these stats were also achieved by facing 3.95 shots per 90, which is the 8th lowest in the list. He has also saved one of the 4 penalties gone against him, but that's really not enough to save him from what has been a torrid season. So Pickford needs to seriously pick up his game, or he will find himself on the bench for both his club and his country. Everton could be doing so much better, especially with Ancelotti at the helm. Leicester City, Kasper Schmeichel. So it's been another sound year for Schmeichel, despite the second half collapse from the Foxes. Playing every game last season, Schmeichel has proven himself to be a top keeper in the Premier League. Starting with the important stuff, Schmeichel achieved a save percentage of 73.8%, placing himself 4th amongst the keepers. He also achieved a clean sheet percentage of 34.2%, claiming a spot in joint 5th. And if that wasn't enough, he also managed 7th for goals conceded per 90 and 9th for penalty save percentage, despite facing 10 penalties. 10! And while facing the 6th lowest shots per 90 with 3.61, Schmeichel has had an incredibly consistent season and has been excellent in every single category. Liverpool, Alisson. So an injury right at the start of the 1920 season did see Alisson only complete 29 games for Liverpool last season, but he still proved to be an outstanding keeper and worthy of lifting the Premier League trophy. See, Alisson's save percentage was the 7th best in the league, finishing with 72.2%. This is good, but where Alisson shines is with his clean sheet percentage of 44.8%, which is the second best in the league, and his goals conceded per 90 of just 0.79, which ranks him first. While he only faced 1 penalty and didn't save it, it doesn't take the shine off what has been a very good season for the Brazilian. One point to note is that Liverpool's defence is so strong that Alisson only faced 2.79 shots per game, which is the second lowest in the league. In fact, he faced only 50% of the shots per game as teams in the sort of bottom 2, such as Bournemouth, Newcastle and Norwich. Despite that, Alisson is still a great keeper and had a great season. Liverpool should have no worries with him going forwards. Manchester City, Ederson. So another amazing keeper, Ederson played 35 times for City as they finished second, a solid record since he did replace the disaster that was Claudio Bravo, and he did achieve another solid season for the Sky Blues. So similar to Alisson, his save percentage was 6th with 72.3%, a mere 0.1% better than his Liverpool counterpart. Again, his talents show with clean sheets and goals conceded, ranking first with his 45.7% of games ending with a clean sheet, and ranking second for conceding an average of 0.8 goals per game. He did also face less shots than any other keeper, only having 2.74 shots at his goal every game, which is remarkably similar to Alisson once again. In fact, looking at the stats, Ederson and Alisson were almost tied in every category. They're both excellent keepers, enjoying a very good run of form. We'll just see if 2021 can bring any differences between them. Manchester United, David De Gea. So the Red Devils' first choice keeper for almost a decade now, De Gea has been criticised for his form in the last season. He played every game for United, but with Henderson coming back from loan, his position may finally be under threat. So, despite the criticisms, De Gea's save percentage was the 5th highest in the league with 73.6%, and his clean sheet percentage was joint 5th with 34.2. He also had the 4th lowest goals conceded per 90 with 0.95. So those are not the numbers of a man out of form, even if he has made some individual blunders. He hasn't saved any of the 3 penalties against him, but he has been an excellent player for United this season. While Henderson definitely does pose a threat, do not expect De Gea just to be pushed out of the team without a fight. Newcastle United, Martin Dubravka. So Newcastle are not good defensively. This is well known. However, they do have a good shot stopper in the form of Dubravka, who has done enough in the northeast to win over the Newcastle faithful. The Magpies number 1 played every game for them this season, but how good was he really? So when looking at Dubravka, you need to know the context. So Newcastle conceded 5.21 shots on target per 90, which is the second highest in the league. So Dubravka has definitely been busy. Despite this, his save percentage was 70.5%, which places him 10th. He also finished 9th in the clean sheet percentage list with 28.9%, which is fairly insane considering the amount of shots that were coming his way and the overall quality of the Newcastle defence. Where it looks a little worse is the goals conceded per 90, which places him down in 16th with 1.53. Also, Dubravka is credited with 5 major errors directly leading to goals, which is higher than any other keeper. Overall though, Dubravka is the reason that Newcastle finished as high as they did, and they should try and keep him if they want to do as well as they did last season. Norwich City, Tim Krul. Poor Norwich. They really never did stand a chance. See, Tim Krul is an experienced keeper, and is certainly not bad, but he could not stop the sheer horror that was the 1920 season for Norwich. He played 36 games for them, and did not have a good time. So finishing the season 18th for save percentage with 65.5%, 19th for clean sheet percentage with 13.9%, 20th for goals conceded per 90 with 1.89, and you can tell it's been a bad time. He did, however, save 3 out of 6 penalties, which does place him joint 3rd for penalty saves, so that's something, right? He should probably be fine in the Championship, especially if they shore up their defence, but I don't know, his confidence is possibly destroyed after the horror show that was last season. Sheffield United, Dean Henderson. So the current wonder boy of English goalkeepers, Henderson has been causing somewhat of a stir, with Sheffield United not only avoiding relegation but actually being good. Shocked a lot of people, and Henderson playing 36 games for them last season was definitely an integral part of that. So his save percentage was 75.2%, which places him 3rd. For his first season in the Premier League, this is insanely positive. He also finished 4th for clean sheets with 36.1%, and 3rd for goals conceded per 90 with 0.92. So there is a reason that people are talking about this guy. He is good. He did also do this while facing a fair number of shots, the 13th highest per 90 with 3.61, which, while, is not as high as some of the other teams, he was tested a fair amount. He did also save, one of the 2 penalties he faced, which brings him joint 3rd for penalty save percentage. However, he has now gone back to Manchester United, and Sheffield now have Aaron Ramsdale, so I would probably start crying if I were a Blades fan. Southampton, Alex McCarthy. So Alex McCarthy is probably not the most sort of dynamic of keepers, but he has done a decent job at Southampton despite not always being nailed on for the number 1 jersey. So he played 28 games this season. Occasionally he did let Angus Gunn go in goal and concede 9 in one game to Leicester, but the less said about that the better. So McCarthy's save percentage places him 11th with 69.1%, which is not bad for a team whose defence is less than solid. He finishes 11th for clean sheets as well with 25%, and 9th for goals conceded per 90 with 1.25. He saved 1 of the 2 penalties he's faced, which puts him joint 3rd, but in general, he is a very solid, average Premier League goalkeeper. I mean, considering what they have on the bench, the Saints could do a lot worse than McCarthy, so probably worth hanging on to him. Tottenham Hotspur, Hugo Lloris. So Lloris's season had a giant gap in the centre after a horror elbow injury did keep him sidelined, but he still played 21 games and stayed as Spurs' number 1. So despite gaining some criticism early on, Lloris finishes the season with the highest save percentage of any first-choice keeper, with 79.6%. And that is while facing the 6th most shots per 90 with 4.86 per game. And clean sheets was less impressive, with 28.6%, which puts him 9th, but goals conceded per 90 was, again, very strong, with exactly 1 per 90, which puts him in 5th. And on top of that, finishing 6th for penalty saves, having saved 1 of the 3 he faced, is another good sign. Overall, he had very impressive stats considering the criticisms that Tottenham did face defensively last season. His second, Gazzaniga, was a little temperamental and didn't inspire much confidence at the back during Lloris's absence, and even then, Lloris impressed few before his injury, with most of his heroics coming after his return. So, regardless, with a new deal locked in, Tottenham should be happy to keep their captain at the back. Watford, Ben Foster. So the last of our relegated teams, Watford holds the veteran keeper Ben Foster, a top bloke and decent shot stopper, but a man who has not had the best of seasons. So starting with the good, he was joint 13th for clean sheet percentage with 23.7%. Well, that's it, really, everything else isn't good reading. 17th for save percentages with 66.3, joint 17th for goals conceded with 1.68, 13th for penalty saves with 11.1%. It doesn't sound too bad, but he saved 1 in 9 penalties, and he's only 13th because 14th to 20th on that list didn't save any, so yeah, not great. I mean, with Foster being 37, I'm not sure how long Watford will want his services, though he could be a strong asset within the Championship, so he'll probably last a season or 2 more. West Ham, Lucas Fabianski. West Ham have definitely not had a good season for keepers. I mean, they haven't had a good season at all, but with Fabianski being injured and playing only 25 times, they even resorted to throwing their third-choice keeper after Roberto made people want to cry. But as for their number 1, 12th for save percentage is certainly not bad, with 68.4%, and he placed joint 7th for penalty saves with 25% after stopping 1 of the 4 penalties that came his way. Goals conceded per 90 was also half decent, finishing up 12th with 1.36 goals. Clean sheets, however, really did not suit the former Swan, as he dropped to joint 17th with a mere 20%, with only relegated club keepers below him. This is somewhat surprising, as he did face an average amount of shots per 90, with the 11th highest of all keepers with 4.24. Overall, despite his injury, Fabianski has had a decent season, even not unspectacular. Just don't expect clean sheets from the man, apparently he's allergic to them. Wolverhampton Wanderers, Rui Patricio. The final keeper on our list, Rui Patricio played every game for Wolves last season in the Premier League. Highly praised since their promotion, Patricio had another good season at the back. So, starting with the positives, Patricio finished 6th overall for goals conceded per 90, only letting in an average of 1.05 per game. On top of that, Patricio bagged joint 5th for clean sheet percentage with 34.2, and grabbed 2nd for penalty saves with 66.6, after he saved 2 of the 3 penalties. What is odd is Patricio finishing 16th for save percentage, with only 67.5%, which is also weird as he faced less shots than most, placing 17th for shots faced per 90 with 3.45. Despite that, Patricio is still a world-class keeper, and his clean sheet percentage and goals conceded per 90 show that he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Final thoughts. So, who has impressed most this season? Well, the keeper with the highest save percentage was Tottenham Hotspur's Hugo Lloris with 79.6%. The keeper with the highest clean sheet percentage was Manchester City's Ederson with 45.7%. The keeper with the lowest goals conceded per 90 was Liverpool's Alisson with 0.79. These guys have been excellent between the sticks and should definitely be watched in the season to come. However, who was an absolute flop last season? The keeper with the lowest save percentage was Chelsea's Kepa Arrizabalaga with 54.5%. The keeper with the lowest clean sheet percentage was Bournemouth's Aaron Ramsdale with 13.5%. And the keeper with the highest goals conceded per 90 was Norwich's Tim Krul with 1.89. While they may blame their defence, the stats do not look good for these folks, and we'll see what comes of them in 2021. So that's it. That is our look at the keepers from the last season. I'd like to thank you for watching. I'd also like to thank Tifo Football and Football Daily for producing high quality football content that has inspired me to start making some of my own. If you would like to support this channel and help get it off the ground, please do feel to like, share and subscribe. But otherwise, have a wonderful day and thank you for watching.